Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook as we finish out the month of July 31st. The summer's flying by. I want to introduce my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good. What are you complaining about, Keith, this summer flying by? You're the one who always says he can't wait for the NFL season to begin. So for the NFL season to officially begin, the regular season, the summer has to fly by for that.
Well, I'm still a kid at heart. You know, I feel like I got to go start school in a couple of weeks if the calendar goes. You know, when I was a kid, my birthday's August 15th. When my birthday would come, I was like, crap, I got to go back to school in 2 weeks. This sucks. Anyway. We are excited for the NFL to start. We've got Major League Baseball news with the trade deadline coming up. Some other stuff going on around the world of sports. But we're going to start a little different today because we haven't talked a lot of college football since probably the championship game, Jack. You and I, anyway. I haven't been on with my college show, which will come back Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. But I want to get in today to Bill Belichick. His tenure at North Carolina has not gone smoothly. And I want to say, I think he's on the hottest seat in college football right now. They win only 4 games last year after a lot of hype. A lot of talk about they're much better this year. But controversy still surrounding him. In a press conference yesterday, he sidestepped a lot of questions about his right-hand man, as you described him earlier. Mike Lombardi, who's been the GM, a new position in college football the last few years, a GM of the Carolina football program. He's been put on administrative leave, so he's getting paid because of an internal investigation against some allegations with him within his department. So you could probably read into what that's all about. Plus, there's an outside investigation by this new rules committee that the NCAA has to make sure schools, I'll say this with a wink, make sure schools stay within the NIL restrictions. And supposedly North Carolina, without bringing in a lot of real good talent, has been towing the line or stepping over the line there. I think Bill Belichick's on a very hot seat in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to grade him so far, you'd give him an incomplete. You'd ask him to complete the course. The novelty's worn off at North Carolina. Bill Belichick going there was an incredible novelty. Bill Belichick in college football, and even in a program that wasn't that big, of moderate size North Carolina, could he turn him into a powerhouse? When Belichick got there, North Carolina was must-see viewing, not for the players, for the coach on the sideline. And like you said, Keith, they had a mediocre season. We're willing to give Belichick a pass based on how the program performed. It's his first year back. And if indeed Belichick, with Mike Lombardi acting as his so-called college GM, if they were building something, sometimes for 1 year you take a little bit of a hit, and you start seeing results in the second, third, maybe even fourth year. And this year, we were supposed to have a much better North Carolina team. But with Belichick, I mean, it can't be that simple. Because when he first came to North Carolina, you would think he would get these great recruits based on his reputation. A dad sitting with his son who's a 4-star quarterback in high school. And they think, look what he did for Tom Brady. Look at the players he's handled. You could be with Bill Belichick. But I kind of feel that novelty is worn off. And if anything, players may be wanting to keep a little bit away, feeling that's an unstable program and that's a little bit of an unstable coach. But I'll just say this before you go, Keith. Bill Belichick, after that miserable season at North Carolina, and if I'm being a little harsh using the word miserable, then
no, you used the wrong word.
Move it out for me. Public sentiment was on his side because of the Hall of Fame vote, where he got snubbed for the NFL Hall of Fame, in this first season of eligibility. So all of a sudden, there was a good feel towards Belichick that he was a victim. But now with this new news coming up, it's like the old Bill Belichick saga rolls on.
I've spent a lot of time in my life defending Bill Belichick, and he's still a great coach, the greatest coach in NFL history. I'll continue to say that. This was a mistake from the beginning, and just a publicity grab. He tried to make this into an NFL type organization at North Carolina, bringing in Mike Lombardi and doing some other things, but they didn't go get any talent. You don't get 5 years. You don't get 4 years. And I'm glad you corrected yourself. You said mediocre season last year and changed it to miserable. He had a miserable season last year. Miserable. 4 wins. The first game, there was all this ballyhoo. Michael Jordan's there. Mia Hamm is there. All these celebrities and North Carolina alums are there. They get blown out their first game, and those people all went away. And the attention waned throughout the season. Bill Belichick has got to find a way to win 7 games this year, and he's not going to win 3. He's going to get fired after year 2.
We don't get to do do-overs, but at this moment, if let's say hypothetically, Bill Belichick, when he couldn't get an NFL job, didn't take the job at North Carolina. Let's say hypothetically, do you know he would have been a prime candidate this offseason for certain jobs? The Atlanta Falcons in particular.
I passed once, though.
No, but Belichick's stock actually has gone down as far as potentially getting any future NFL jobs. In part, it's his age as well. Let's not kid ourselves. They take a look at that. But if an organization wants a short-term solution, they think, okay, we could have a coach even 3-4 years. Don't have to think 10 years or whatever. Belichick would have been a prime candidate for a few coaching opportunities. They would have given him an extra hard look. Had he gone in the broadcast booth, for example, Mike Tomlin, when he's in the broadcast booth this year, maybe Mike Tomlin's going to transition into the broadcast booth for good. But you want to know something? 2, 3, 4 years go by, he's still going to be in demand. He's going to still be in demand until it becomes apparent, the way it was with Bill Cowher, that he doesn't want to coach again. Then they're going to stop chasing him. But Belichick going to North Carolina, even if he became available for the NFL, who's going to want to hire him? His stock has went down terribly now with the job at North Carolina.
I'm in the horrible position of having to agree with you 100%. If he sat out 1 year and did some TV, did I don't know, This Week in the NFL, whatever the show is, I think used to be on HBO and somewhere else now. And he was very good. He's actually very good in that role. But he didn't get a job in that next cycle, and he got antsy and wanted to coach apparently, or get paid, one or the other. And took this North Carolina job, which was a bad fit from the beginning. Now he's not going to get another shot because this team, he's going to be coming off 2 horrible seasons. He won 4 games last year. I'm going to tell you right now, this team's may not win 3 games. They're going to lose to TCU, the opening game. They probably beat East Tennessee. They got Clemson. They got Notre Dame. They got Pitt. They got Duke. They got Syracuse. They got Miami. UConn, they might beat Louisville, Virginia, NC State. They're not winning 3 games. 4 games.
This year's pivotal, especially if they take a step backward. But what could hurt Belichick even more if it comes out there were improprieties within the program?
100%.
That it's the same hanky-panky as went on in the NFL, Spygate or this or that, and some controversies happen. And North Carolina wants to move on from him. Can you imagine North Carolina after 2 seasons of Bill Belichick says they basically had it with him? Can you imagine that? And then Belichick's only way possibly back into the NFL, because he's not going to get a college football position again unless he's willing to take Division 2 or 3, which he's not going to be willing to take, understandably.
No.
It would be as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. I still think someone would hire him. Absolutely.
He's going to be 74 years old.
I think he would. Someone like Sean Payton, for example. I think he coached with Belichick on the Giants staff. Under Bill Parcells for a little while, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were. I think they were together. Maybe they have a good relationship. maybe the Giants, for example, obviously had a great relationship with Bill Belichick when he was their defensive coordinator. Maybe that type of position, I'll say, okay, he's not making decisions. He's not the head coach. You just want him handling the defense. And then if he does that and does it well a year or two, that's his ticket back into head coaching. But then again, you look at his age. I mean, what? We're not going to hire him as a head coach when he's 80 years old.
No, we're not going to hire him at 75, and he's hurt himself. He's
like what? What is he now? Like 74?
I believe he's 74 years old. Let me just check real quick. But he's hurt himself with this tenure in college. He would have got a job. 74 years old. His birthday's in April. I'm convinced he would have got a job and would have had a chance at that NFL wins record, and now that's all gone.
I don't know what I understand the wins record. It's a great achievement. But should we count the playoff wins record first and foremost? Doesn't he hold that by far?
He does. I mean, part of that, you got to remember, too, they play a lot more playoff games now than they ever played before.
Well, in part because of his coaching, he got them there.
No, I get it. Listen, I think that's a very important record. I don't disagree with that comment, actually. And I think, but we're always going to think, or the first thing that people are always going to go to, he got fired or left with just short of Don Shula's record. And I'm sorry, Don Shula can't hold a candle to Bill Belichick as a head football coach.
I don't want to go that far. Coach Shula was an outstanding coach. Was he a bit of a blowhard? Yeah, he was definitely a blowhard. Was he a little overrated at times? Yeah, he was a little overrated at times. I mean, when you have Johnny Unitas and Dan Marino and don't win a Super Bowl with either one of those two,
way overrated.
Two are the greatest of all time. But in NFL history, there are very few coaches, and I say very few, who were as consistently good as Don Shula, who kept his teams as consistently good. Year after year, the Dolphins were in the mix. Year after year after year. They just didn't lose. They just couldn't get over the top.
Because they're always lacking. Because they were always lacking because of.
Well, he took them to 6 Super Bowls, Don Shula, his teams. They were 2-4, but they were good teams otherwise. He'd take them to the playoffs. They just couldn't get over the top. He did, put it this way, Coach Shula did better with his teams that the vast majority of coaches could have done.
He never reached a Super Bowl the last 30 years. The last 25 or 30 years of his career, he never reached a Super Bowl. I mean,
I don't think it's 30 years. Even his last year when they were faltering, they made the playoffs, got blown out in the first game. They were like 9-7.
They almost always got blown out.
Listen, my point is this. Coach Shula was consistently good. Consistently. And you got to give him a ton of credit for that. Even though we were living in the past with that Dolphin team that was 17-0 and barely scraped by, teams that weren't that good. But
I did overreach on it was 20 years because his last Super Bowl had to be around 75, right? And he retired in 95. So 20 years, the last 20 years, he didn't reach a Super Bowl he got to a couple AFC championship games, but he wasn't that close to a Super Bowl really either.
And the Colts won the Super Bowl the year after he left to become Dolphin head coach. So if we want to start talking, but it's what it is. Don Shula was a darn good coach. He would be on a short list of hirees if he was around today. He was obviously of age, and the NFL was looking for a coach. He would definitely be an appealing candidate for any team to hire.
So does Belichick ever get a chance to pass that record? I say
no.
He's not.
Anything's possible. We had the Jordan Hudson drama, his young girlfriend. He's done a good job of shelving that. The two of them, she hasn't been in the news.
She alive? I don't even know if she's alive.
What's going on with Mike Lombardi? Mike Lombardi was a big TV personality talking about the NFL. I was surprised he went to North Carolina. What was I guess he went there for the challenge. He went there maybe out of friendship to Belichick, and they were going to have hi, Michael. They were going to have an NFL type program. That's what they were going to run at North Carolina. They were going to do it differently from, other college programs. And like I said earlier, if I'm a high school player and I see Bill Belichick, Mike Lombardi, and I have dreams of playing in the NFL, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
They didn't get any of those kids to come there for whatever reasons. I think some of it is because they didn't want to go play in an NFL type program with Bill Belichick. I don't think they did.
A lot's appealing the university, where you're going to be living, and there's so many variables. And when these kids visit the universities, they have like a certain impression. Listen, how did Indiana build a powerhouse to be national champions? How did they get the kids to commit to Indiana? Most of them don't come from the state of Indiana as is.
I think it was because Curt Cignetti has a great reputation around the world of college football. He coached at Alabama under Nick Saban before he went to James Madison. He brought about 20 of those kids with him that played that first year from James Madison that were really good players, and they had a great year that year before, and that allowed him to not just recruit, but also they've been very successful in the transfer portal. That's where Mendoza came from, the transfer portal. So Curt Cignetti is right now, I think, the prototype of what a college football program needs to look like. Now, they have to maintain now, right? He built them up and won a championship somewhere where nobody thought you could win. Now, maintaining that might be even more difficult. So we'll find out this year about Curt Cignetti.
Well, they reportedly, Indiana has a powerhouse team again, reportedly.
Well, they've had a good portal class again, and we'll see. In fact, they brought in a quarterback.
Yeah, well, the top college players always thinking what puts them in the best position for the NFL draft. I mean, that fits into the equation. They come on the transfer portal. Even if a player has, let's say, 3 years of eligibility, he's thinking in terms if he has a big season, he'll declare for the NFL draft. If he doesn't, he always has the option of an extra year, to a college ball.
Well, we'll get involved in college football a lot more here as we go forward in the month of August, heading towards the end of the month where we have the season starting, and we'll have our competition again this year, Jack. So start boning up. Start boning up. You didn't do bad last year. I did Actually, I did horribly. So anyway, good luck, Bill Belichick. I will predict.
Mike Lombardi, that's a story that has to come out. It has to come out. And I don't think North Carolina, even if they're a bit tired of Belichick and they feel it's a mistake, I don't think North Carolina is anxious to come down hard on Belichick because it kind of makes things look bad. Even though the honeymoon period's over with Bill Belichick, he's still a big name. And let's be honest about it. Keith, let's be perfectly honest. If Bill Belichick wasn't the head coach in North Carolina, was just another name coaching them, we wouldn't give a darn about North Carolina come game day. But with Bill Belichick, the coach, we're checking up on the North Carolina score. We're going out of our way if things not on TV to see how North Carolina is doing. So
at the end of the day, you gotta win.
Much more relevant like it, and not just like Deion Sanders has done at Colorado. Colorado had a bad year last year, but I think people are willing to give Deion a pass because last year he didn't make big waves, and people are looking at Deion more like a coach now as opposed to a personality. And ironically, people are looking at Bill Belichick at this moment is just as much a personality as they do a coach.
I think Deion's his view, and I think people's view of him may have changed a little bit with his cancer battle last year as well, by the way. I think that had an impact on him and how people looked at him. So Belichick's going to get fired unless they don't want to eat $60 million after the season. That's going to be the bottom line. So can North Carolina, I guess any school
We'll see what type of year they have. We'll see what type of year they have. They might surprise us and have a strong season. Let's see.
That is this schedule. They were 4-8 with an easy schedule last year. They got a very tough schedule this year.
If they go 6-6 with a tough schedule, Keith, you might say, not too bad. Okay, they make some improvement. Okay, that's what you might say.
Well, because he'll get a bowl game with 6-6 too. That might save his job because of the $60 million they got to pay him and his coaches.
Win a bowl game. Okay,
maybe.
Whatever.
We'll see.
They have to do that at the very least.
We'll see how it plays out for sure. What's this? I don't know what this is. There are two people. Oh, I see. Thank you, Michael. Or Chris. Sorry, that's not Michael. That's Chris. Let's pivot to Major League Baseball. The trade deadline is coming up Monday. Still been very quiet. The talk around Major League Baseball is they didn't expect to see a lot of moves made until this weekend because teams are still evaluating whether they're buyers or sellers right up until the last minute here. There's some huge disappointments here. In fact, and you have guys like Bryce Harper speaking up about Dave Dombrowski. Part of this might be a little revenge motive because Dombrowski kind of talked Bryce Harper down during the offseason. And Harper said the other day, and Mattingly said he didn't like his comments because he really put down without saying it, he put down the team that they have there now, saying they need help pretty much everywhere on this roster. And he's not wrong because this team is not a good team.
Well, that might be even a little more than that, Keith. A couple of years ago, Bryce Harper wanted to extend his contract. The Phillies never did that, to my knowledge, did they? And they shouldn't do it. It's absurd.
Well, Dombrowski said he's basically an ordinary player now.
Harper signed a $13 million contract, and with something like 8 years left on the deal, he says, I want to play till I'm 42, 43. And Scott Boras, his agent who negotiated the deal, said, yeah, it should be done. There's a precedent with the Kansas City Chiefs doing it for Patrick Mahomes. What the heck does that have to do with baseball? The Chiefs doing it with Patrick Mahomes? I mean, come on. He signed the deal. It came out not big money compared to what players get later on, but it was $330 million for 13 years, which comes out to what, like $25 million a year, a teeny bit over $25 million a year. It was solid numbers at that point, but that's what the market was for Harper. A market is always going to go up later on. That's what happens, unless the contract is so ridiculously bad. I don't have any sympathy for the player. I'll give you a case in point. If Aaron Judge had signed a 10-year deal for the Yankees for $7 million a year, $70 million in total, and the Yankees said, no, you have 6 years left on this deal, we're holding you to it, I'm totally against it. 100% against that contract. I think it's unethical. It's absurd. I would go against whatever, But $25 million, even with the market going up for what Harper is producing, is, fair value. It really is fair value. And it was a North American sports record for total dollars when he signed it. People were going to surpass it. We knew that.
On that side of this argument, I agree. You know how I feel about players signing long-term contracts and wanting to renegotiate it. Don't sign this contract when you think it's going to be obsolete in 2 years. Don't do it.
No. Years ago, in the early ages of that, reportedly, Jerry Buss signed Magic Johnson to a $25 million deal, $1 million a year. Yeah. Obviously, he outgrows that.
He should not have signed it.
No, but I don't expect Magic Johnson to play for that amount of money. That is absurd.
Then he should sign that.
But you sign it at the time. But if it's so ridiculously absurd, okay, you get a guy in the company. He agrees to a deal that's going to pay him $100,000 a year for 10 years. And then everyone else in the company starts making $2 million a year, and he's your best worker. You don't expect him to come into work at $100,000 and the rest of getting $2 million. That's absurd.
If I decide he should get that $2 million, that's fine. But for him to say, I need more, when I guarantee. Here's the other thing. I also guaranteed you all that money for all those years, no matter what you did.
I agree with that. Oh, no, I agree in the case of Harper. Maybe I shouldn't give examples. He signed the deal. It's really good money. It makes no sense for the Phillies to extend them when he's age 40, 41. No sense at all. At all. And if you want to play all that time, you want to know something? Don't take the extension. Prove yourself. Finish up your last 6 years or whatever the amount is. Play great. And then you could sign a 2-3 year deal that would be the equivalent of the extension for even more money, because someone will pay you short term if you still have it at an old age.
Well, that brings the other side of this argument. Should management be running down that player? Last year during the offseason, Dombrowski said that Harper was no longer an elite player, that he was a quality player but not top 10 material. I don't think you run down your leader of your team like that either. So now,
but can I ask you this? Could I say this, Keith? Judging how Harper's performed is Dombrowski wrong. He's not the same Bryce Harper. He's still a pretty good player, but he's not a superstar. Maybe he'll put it together and be a superstar again. I'm not ruling that out. That possibility, but Harper certainly hasn't proven Dombrowski wrong.
Before I get off the contract thing, Rick brings up a good point, to your point, not mine.
Oh, no, absolutely. I agree with Rick. 100%. I'm Keith.
Then they should just go year to year.
If it's a ridiculous contract, you have to tweak it and work something out. Like in the case of Scottie Pippen, when he was the 8th and 9th highest paid player on the Bulls, and he had like 5 years left on the deal. You don't let him play the next 5 years where he's going to be the 8th, 9th highest player on the Bulls. You work out an extension or you work out something.
So these guys you're fine with guys taking long-term deals and guaranteed money that if I got hurt tomorrow, they'd get paid, right? They're going to pay out all that money.
It's not all that money. It's not big contracts. I'm not talking about big contracts.
Any contract.
I'm not talking about $25 million contract.
Jack, when he signed that $25 million contract in 1980, whatever, that was a huge contract for the time. Huge.
It wasn't huge. It was okay at the time.
For the time, $25 million guaranteed was a lot of money in the NBA.
Oh,
guaranteed.
No, 25. What are we talking about? He didn't sign for 25. Scottie Pippen signed for $2.8 million.
Magic. I'm going.
That was $1 million a year for 25 years.
$25 million guaranteed. That's what I'm talking about. You got to look at the whole value of the contract.
For his whole career. And then a few years later, guys if they're getting paid $40 million a year for 1 year, Magic should be playing for $1 million a year and someone else for $40 million.
So did the Lakers stop paying Magic when he acquired the AIDS virus and had to stop playing? Did they stop paying him? No, they didn't.
He retired. They may have stopped paying him.
No, they didn't.
But what the Lakers did, the Lakers redid Magic's deal.
Whatever,
because it was so absurd the way that deal got outgrown. Sometimes circumstances change. I get it. I'm not talking about big contracts.
I'm talking about.
I'll give you an example. The case of Aaron Judge. If the Yankees started signing a bunch of free agents, a few other guys, and they were paying, like Kyle Tucker, who got $60 million a year. Let's say the Yankees gave Tucker $50 million a year. Soto signed with them $50 million a year. Stupid. And before we know it, Aaron Judge at $40 million a year is the 7th highest play on the Yankees, but he's producing by far and away the most. I wouldn't renegotiate with Aaron Judge. No way. That's still big money. But if Aaron Judge was getting $5 million a year, and it was so ridiculously out of touch with reality,
package, though. You keep talking about the yearly package. How about the entire package? If Aaron Judge had signed a 40-year contract for $5 million guaranteed, it was worth $200 million, would you feel the same way?
A 40-year contract.
Whatever. A lifetime. Again, I'm using an outrageous number. Think about it, though, Jack. $200 million over however much time you want to say. 10 years. And then he's getting $20 million. Where's the again, there's no world where Aaron Judge is getting paid $5 million and somebody else is getting 50. There's no world that happens. So that's not a good example in my mind. You gotta have a better example. Because guys
I gave you the Magic Johnson example of getting $1 million a year for
that was a lot
25 years. Meaning that's for his whole career. And he wasn't going to play 25 years. And a player would get more money in one season than Magic would get for 10 seasons. That makes that's outrageous. That's what all I meant.
So what? So if he signed for
$40 million, he should just play for it and shut up and be enthusiastic. You're saying, right?
I didn't say he should. He could be unhappy. He could find a way to get out, force a trade. He could do whatever he wants.
No, you come to force a trade. No, he signed a contract, Keith. Let him play for it and be all in on the team and the organization.
I'm fine with that too. I'm actually fine with that too. Now, if he's my best player and he's my leader, I'm gonna make him happy. I'm not saying I wouldn't pay him.
Oh, okay, that's what I mean. If you're agreeing,
I'm agreeing that if the team is willing to give him more money, that's fine. The player should not feel like I deserve it when I already gave you a guaranteed amount of money.
Oh, no, in the case of Harper, he absolutely doesn't. Harper was seeing what all the other guys were getting paid.
We're probably closer to the same
40 million, and he felt I'm undervalued at 25 million. And Harper didn't ask for an opt-out. He didn't ask for an opt-out and as it turned out, that was a bad business decision because he probably could have, with Scott Boras, have said, okay, I have an opt-out after 6 seasons, midway through this contract or whatever. They negotiated. And Scott Boras probably urged Harper to take the opt-out, but Harper was idealistic. He said, this is my town, this is my city, no opt-outs, I'm completely devoted to the Phillies. And it didn't happen. He didn't ask for the opt-out, just like Judge signed a 9-year contract, never asked for an opt-out. No, had Judge asked for an opt-out after 4 years, he could have redone his deal and gotten even more money, but he didn't do it, which is fine. I wouldn't give it to him. No, the Yankees absolutely were going to give him an opt-out.
I would never give these guys an opt-out.
You wouldn't, but I'm not talking about you, Keith, okay? I'm talking about what they would have done.
They shouldn't give him one.
I'm not talking about what should be and what shouldn't be done. I'm talking about what is done. Baseball. And Harper didn't ask for it. And now he's playing for a little over $25 million a year, which is still good money. No benefits have to be thrown. He has lifetime security. But Harper, wanted the Phillies to extend this contract, do something again. And the Phillies, no. You signed it, and I back the Phillies 100% in the case of Harper, 100%. And Harper's probably a bit ticked off at that and Dombrowski, the whole big picture.
He is pissed.
And he's being, critical. When he has a chance to take a dig back, he does it.
Plus, he's on a flawed team. Let's get to the heart of this. This is not a good baseball team. They had a really good run, pulled within 3 games, 4 games of the Braves. Now they've lost 8 of their last 10. This team has 4 players in their lineup that are above average. Harper, the Schwarber, the shortstop, whose name is escaping me at the moment, and Marsh, and that's it. And 3 pitchers, their top pitchers, are like, I don't know, 20 some games over 500. When they're back end of the rotation pitches, they're like 15 and 40. This is not a good baseball team. I think Gausman, Chris is talking about the Blue Jays are going to be sellers here.
Yeah, they should. Expiring deal. What do the Blue Jays care? It's within their division. This isn't their year. They're in the cellar. They're in last place. They're not likely to make a playoff run, even though anything's possible. Maybe the Blue Jays do make a playoff run. They still have a chance
Well,
technically to make the playoffs because the AL isn't, strong. So who knows? Maybe the playoff berth will be, up for grabs by the end of the year if the Blue Jays could string together wins. But and if guys have expiring deals, they're going to be free agents anyway. Listen, the Blue Jays moved on from Bo Bichette. They didn't re-sign him. He was a free agent.
Yeah.
The Mets gave him a 3-year deal. Has that really worked out for the Mets? The Mets are paying him over $40 million a year.
Mets are trying to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, when a guy's a free agent, it looks so appealing to sign him. I gave you an example the other day on the show. If the Mets call the Yankees up and they say to the Yankees, okay, we'll give you Juan Soto, just take his contract. You don't have to give us a thing in return. Do you take him if you're the Yankees and pay him the remaining 13 years left on his contract after this one? Originally, the Yankees were going to do that.
Yeah.
They were going to do something basically the same way.
Yeah.
And if the Mets say this, no, we will make up the difference if it's anything more than what you originally offered him. And the contracts are fairly close. If I'm the Yankees, no, I start thinking it up. The next decade, Soto's going to slow down defensively. His bat is probably going to, maybe start slowing down little by little. No, I don't like the last few years of this deal.
No.
I mean, how it's going to look. These deals always look bad at the end. Even you have the mentality, Keith. Well, you sign a guy for 8 years, and if he gives you 5 good years, 6 good years, fine, you eat the last 2 years. No, you don't eat. You don't need anything, Keith.
Jack, that mentality is the mentality of general managers in baseball. They know they're not going to get value the back end of these contracts.
Don't pay them. Don't pay if you're going to get hit at the end of the contract.
You can't sign guys unless you do it.
Look, Giancarlo Stanton has 2 years left on his contract, I believe, after this season. I can understand the Yankees, the last year of the contract, I think you looked it up, they have a $10 million buyout. They might buy him out the last year, the $10 million. By that point, maybe I can understand that, because if they don't buy him out, they'll have to probably pay him an extra $15 million on top of that. And it probably won't be worth it to them. And Stanton, as much as he's a beloved Yankee, and the Yankee fans like him.
He's not beloved.
No, they like him. No, he's popular. Look, if Stanton came back to an old-timers day, he would get a nice ovation. They like him. The fans
That's
like him.
not beloved. I mean, yeah, they like him. Beloved is, Mickey Mantle and Roy White. Those are beloved Yankees.
Roy White. How beloved is Roy White? He's not even in Monument Park. I mean, I like Roy White.
Roy White is a beloved Yankee, not by the organization, but by the fans.
Not by the organization. Okay, I see what you're saying. But the point is, the Yankees are always maneuvering with Giancarlo, trying to get his bat in the lineup. And they wonder whether he's affecting the rest of the lineup as a DH, whether he's hurting the versatility of the team. But when he's hitting, he's obviously a major asset when he's hitting well.
You got to be healthy to hit, too, and he's never healthy.
Right, but he hasn't been worth the contract. But at the time the Yankees picked it up from Miami, Stanton was a major star. It happened. Scuba's going to be a free agent for the Tigers. Tigers are going to trade him to someone. What team's he going to go to? I have no clue. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say the Dodgers. That would be my prediction. But obviously, he could go somewhere else. He could go to any contender. For all we know, he'll wind up being a Boston Red Sox or whatever. But
he'll definitely
I wouldn't risk signing him to a mega long-term deal. I just wouldn't do it.
He's already had our problems.
Team out there who is going to sign him for 7 years, let's say $52 million a year, for 7 years. And it's rare that a pitcher's going to give you quality for all those years you have him. Once in a while, you get lucky. The Yankees got lucky that way with Mike Mussina. signed him first to a 6-year deal. He was always consistently good. Then a couple of years after that, I think he had 7 of the 8 years he was with the Yankees, he was very good. I mean, excellent. Yeah, excellent. 1 year he was a little off, but all in all, long-term worked out.
And he could have signed another contract if he'd wanted one, like you
Yeah,
said. But
they won the World Series the year after he left. How do you like that?
He won 20 games this last year, right? The only
Yeah,
time he
he
won
did.
20. Yeah.
For the first and only time, yeah.
So the Mets started trading a small one yesterday with A.J. Minter going to where'd he go to?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, right? So it looks like Minnesota's buying and not selling. So don't look for Joe
They're
Ryan and Brian Buxton to get traded.
out. They're a game out. Minnesota shouldn't be selling, and they're not. They're a game out.
But are they really contenders in Minnesota?
Yes, you're a game out. You're a contender. Anyone can beat anyone in the playoffs. This is baseball.
Really?
Kids, this isn't a weaker playing team beating a powerhouse NBA team best 4 out of 7. That doesn't happen.
Is 27% a high percentage of anything?
Well, what are we talking about?
Is 27% a big number?
It's a reasonable number. It's not unreasonable.
That's the number of wild card teams that have won the World Series. 27%.
Okay,
that's a lot.
But you want to know something? That's not. That's more than a long shot number.
By the way, that's also
more than a long shot number.
It's 7 teams that have won a World Series since a wild card came into existence.
Keith, think about it, Keith.
Hold on. And some of those teams were really good teams. They won 90, 95, 100 games, some of those wild card teams. These teams are 500 or under that we're talking about. They're not good teams.
Win. The Twins are not that good. They're not likely to win. But it's how good you are come playoff time and how you're playing come playoff time.
Are you telling me they're making moves so they make the playoffs or they can win the World Series?
To make the playoffs once you're in the tournament.
That's not true.
Once you're in the tournament, okay, anything could happen. And even if you get eliminated, you could look back and say, we did have a successful season in the sense that we made the playoffs. The year wasn't a failure. We don't define every season based on championships. That means if we do, that means everyone is a failure, but the team that wins the World Series. That's a harsh way to evaluate a team.
So the Twins not winning a playoff series since like 1992 is success over the last 35 years?
If the Twins make the playoffs, they're capable of winning one playoff series. You agree with that?
No, I'm not, because historically they don't win ever in the playoffs.
They're not capable of winning a playoff series?
History says they can't. They won't. They don't win playoff series. They haven't won any since they won a World Series in '93. They haven't won any they haven't won any series in decades.
So what are the Twins supposed to do? Just not try? What are they supposed to do?
This team is not good enough to win a playoff series. I'm telling you, they will not win a playoff series.
So what are they supposed to do? So they should sell off all their good players and rebuild? But I mean, come on.
The guys that you're not going to have control over more than another year, like Joe Ryan, you should probably trade. I don't think.
Well, Joe Ryan, isn't Joe Ryan on the team control for another year?
One more year after this.
Okay, so they have him for next year. If you want to trade Joe Ryan, if you don't feel you can sign him long term, if you're the Twins, you see what you work out in the off season. He's not going to be a free agent at the end of this year. He could help you win, he could help you win this year.
So every team within how many games should be trading at the deadline? Should be buyers. How many games out is too far?
Situations are different. The Twins are 1 game out.
The Blue Jays are only 5.5 out of the wild card. Why are they selling?
The Blue Jays have to leapfrog over a number of teams. The Twins are 1 game out in their division. The Twins are fighting to win their division. And if the Twins win their division and they get swept in the first round of the playoffs.
They're 3 games
You want to
out
know
of their division.
something? You want to know something? The year hasn't been a failure. They could say it's a success. Well, we won our division. We won our division at least. We accomplished something. That's important.
They are 3 games out, but that's still not that far.
Wait a second.
They're 3 games out of the division, 1 game out of the wild card. But listen, the Twins, I could say, have had a decent season. I'm not saying they haven't because
you're right. You're right on that, Chief. I stand to be corrected.
That's okay.
But the Twins right now are at 555 and 55, and consider this, they won number games under 500, so they've been playing much better.
They played better than I and a lot of people thought they would play this year, quite frankly. So I'll give you that. But do I think they're World Series contenders? I do not.
Keith, didn't you pick the Seattle Mariners to win it all, as I recall?
I had them losing.
Seattle Mariners are 4 games under 500. Should they be sellers or buyers?
That's a different situation. I would say
they 4 games under 500.
They have one of the best pitching rotations in baseball. I can
see the way they've been pitching this year.
They haven't hit. They haven't hit. They need bats.
Okay, so they should be buyers or sellers.
I think that, again, and not every situation is the same. I think they should be buyers, yes. Buyers. But not everybody. Let me look at the teams that are close. You tell me whether they should buy or sell. Twins, we already talked about. The Astros, should they buy?
Wow. You want to know something? Every team, unless they're flat out of it, and Houston is a half game out of first place. People wrote Houston off early in the year. This is finally it. They're gassed out. They're no longer contenders. They're no longer relevant. And they might win their division, as it's turning out. Every team with a chance
the American League's so bad. That's
to the playoffs should see where they can improve their team. This is the problem facing every single team that wants to be a buyer. They're going to have to give up some of their best prospects. That's a dangerous thing to do, because that prospect could bite you later on by really becoming an outstanding major leaguer.
I don't know what. Anyway, I agree. That's kind of my point, right? And not everybody should be buying and giving up their top prospects and mortgaging the future, for a 2-month run here. They shouldn't. And part of this,
once in a while, it pays off. If you're on the cusp of something big, I can understand you do it. But if to get a rental, I can understand that, but it depends what you have to give up. I mean, you talk about in the case of the Yankees could badly use another arm in the bullpen. Mason Miller's name is the biggest name going on. Now, if you're the Yankees, I don't know what George Lombard, Spencer Jones, and Juan Dominguez get you Mason Miller. Those 3. Lombard's supposed to be an outstanding prospect. But once you give up a George Lombard, all the Yankees' plans of him being their future infielder at short at second base is gone. But at least Mason Miller is under contract through 2029.
To your own logic, why would they trade Mason Miller anyway? They're 2 games out of the playoff race.
Well, they are, exactly. It would take, but the point is, it would take something big. Mason Miller, in the long run,
he's not getting traded.
Is he the best thing for the Padres? If they could get certain position players, young players with great potential, would that be better for their organization? That's the question. I mean, but the Padres are all listening to offers for Mason Miller. If you don't have a really good team, how valuable is your closer? All of a sudden, he's not one of your more valuable guys necessarily.
Well, again, to your previous argument, they're 2 games out of the playoffs. I don't know why they wouldn't go for it based on your other logic.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I agree. I wouldn't trade Mason Miller. Not
By
a
the
guy
way,
on the team control through 2029. No way do I trade Mason Miller.
I would never trade Mason Miller, not in this market for sure. But your argument stands to me is more reasonable for American League teams because the American League stinks and there's no really, really good team in the American League. The National League has got the Dodgers,
Some
the
of them are
Braves.
going to take off and start winning.
Hang on. The Dodgers have the Dodgers. I'm sorry. The National League has the Dodgers, the Braves, the Brewers, who are all really, really good teams. These other teams that are chasing the last wild card, the Padres, the Marlins, who just lost 13 in a row and they're still 2.5 out of the wild card, the Pirates, the Nationals, the Cardinals, these teams should all go for it when they got zero chance of beating those three teams. In my mind, I wouldn't be going for it with that. In the American League, it's a little different. You're right. Somebody in the American League could get hot, I suppose, and get to the World Series and get beat by the Dodgers.
No, it depends on your circumstance. If you have players who are injured and they're coming back, that's your reinforcements. I've been saying that all along with the Yankees. When Max Fried was out, Max Fried will come back at some point. You're not going to get a better starting pitcher than him on the market. Carlos Rondon is going to come off the injured list.
No.
There's the same thing as trading for a player. Aaron Judge is eventually at some point in the season expected to come off the injured list.
We don't know that.
You don't know his exact status, but if he does, that's the best pickup you can get.
And if Judge doesn't get healthy, the Yankees don't win.
You can't give up junk to another team. They're going to want some of your best prospects.
Well, again, that's a reason not to go all in when you don't have a real chance to win. That's my argument. You're making my argument for me. If you don't want to give up those prospects for a Hail Mary, then you don't do it. But I don't know. I mean, again, this is what baseball wants. They want this argument because they want parity. Parity sucks in my mind. I hate parity.
I mean, you could be, listen, if you're the Yankees, you can be a seller. And I'm going to tell you how you could be a seller. You trade, let's say a team needs a second baseman, one with power and speed, Chaz Chisholm. Trade him to a contender for a couple of their really good prospects, and then bring up George Lombard to play second base. You could, maneuver that way. That would be a little bit of a bold move, but it's not unreasonable. It really isn't unreasonable. It probably would help you a lot in the future because Chisholm's going to be a free agent anyway at the end of the year. So you make that move, okay?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then Lombard's not your second baseman, but it's risky because the Yankees are valid contenders right now.
Now, you may see some of those trades, but the Yankees got to get a major league player back in that trade too, I think. But that's just my opinion. Got to get a major league player back in that trade.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Keith, come on. It's not that simple.
Yes, it is. You're going to see, I guarantee you, we'll talk about this come when it's over, but I guarantee you're going to see contenders making trades with each other because everybody thinks they're a contender. So you're going to see everyday players get traded for everyday players.
All these deals involve minor leaguers, though.
An
established major leaguer for good prospects. That's what they're doing.
Not in this environment with teams.
And I'm going to tell you, a guy like Bo Bichette, the Mets want to trade him. You know what the other teams are doing? They're looking and seeing $43 million or so a year for the next 2 years. And, forget paying off the rest of that money prorating it this year. The Mets are going to have to be willing to eat a fair amount of that. You
mark my words, Jack. You're going to see at least a couple of trades between contenders, and you're going to see everyday players get traded for each other. You're going to see it, not just prospects for starters. You're going to see some of those trades. You have to. There's only 6 teams, by your reasoning, there's only 6 teams in all of baseball that are out of it and are going to be absolute sellers and take only prospects back. That's it. 6 teams. That's not enough to feed the other 24 that are alive. So again, we spent a lot of time on that. I did want to get back. Rick brought this up, and I did want to touch on this. We were talking about contracts. Baker Mayfield, to switch to the NFL for a second, feels disrespected. He was trying to get an extension. He's in the last year of his contract. Again, I'm not saying they shouldn't extend him. I'm not saying he should be happy.
No, Rick. Baker Mayfield's situation is different because Baker Mayfield wants an extension. He has 1 year left. Okay? It's not that he's arguing he's getting underpaid. I think a better example, Rick, than Baker Mayfield would be Vita Vea, the tackle on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vea has been with them a lot of years, a possible Hall of Famer because of how he's played for the Buccaneers. He has $17 million left on his contract. The problem is none of the money is guaranteed. Now, if I'm the Buccaneers in Vea's, I wouldn't renegotiate Vea's contract or give him an extension, I don't think. But I would guarantee a good part of that money now. I'm sympathetic towards an NFL player who has no guaranteed money on his deal because if he gets injured, he's not going to get anything. So I'm all for him holding out. And the player could say, just guarantee my money, even though it's below market value. This is what I negotiated. I believe all this money that a player signs for should always be guaranteed.
Well, let's go back to the question of Baker Mayfield, who says he's been disrespected.
Baker Mayfield.
He's not going to negotiate anymore.
I will back up your argument in the case of a player like Baker Mayfield because you look at his history. Baker Mayfield thinks he should get paid like one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. To get paid that way, you have to be that way. He's not. Unfortunately, he's not. The Buccaneer management doesn't want to diminish Baker Mayfield and talk about the way he finished up last year, the second half of the season. He wasn't good. The Buccaneers were one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL. They fell apart and they choked and they didn't make the playoffs.
So what happens when he has a big year this year? If he has a big year this year, they'll cost themselves more money.
No, that's if they sign him. Let's say Baker Mayfield has his best. Let's say he matches his best career year.
Yep.
He had a couple of good years with the Browns, right? And he had a good year with, one of his years was decent the year before last with the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's say he does that. He's an unrestricted free agent. Keith, no team is going to sign him for top quarterback money, like make him one of the top paid quarterbacks in the NFL. There's not enough teams out there that need a quarterback are going to think that Baker's so much better than what they have.
Nobody overpays quarterbacks.
Example, if it doesn't work out between Murray and J.J. McCarthy this year, let's say neither of them are that good. Let's say hypothetically, if that happened, and Baker Mayfield's an unrestricted free agent coming off a big year, the Vikings aren't going to make him one of the highest paid QBs and give him a four-year deal, one of the highest paid quarterbacks, because he's not that proven type of commodity. We have enough of a body of work on Baker Mayfield to know he could be very, very good, but he's not quite elite. We're not talking about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes elite. He's just not on that level. He's more he's not on the level of Dak Prescott either, for example.
People overpay quarterbacks every day. I mean, he'll get money somewhere if he hits the free agent
market. He'll get money, but he's not going to get. But Baker wants to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks. I
didn't say he should be. I'm saying he's
going to get paid. But the Buccaneers offered him. They want to work something out. They tried. He felt there wasn't enough guaranteed money. We don't know what they offered him. For all we know, they offered him the type of money where he was going to be the 17th, 18th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. For all we know. And the reality of the situation, that's about where he slots in.
I don't disagree. But if he goes out and has a career year this year, somebody's going to pay him stupid money because that's
not necessarily. Who's going to pay him stupid money? Well,
The
what
Giants-
teams got their quarterbacks for the most part? You're going to get a college crop of young quarterbacks coming out next year, too. That's going to be strong.
Again, history says you're wrong. That these teams do this all the time because all it takes is one stupid owner. Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, go on and on. Guys get paid more money than they should get. I'm not saying it takes one stupid owner. And again, these guys deserve the money because somebody's willing to pay them. So,
I see your point. Look,
and they
if
can't
I had to
franchise
compare
tag him.
Baker Mayfield to other quarterbacks, he's on the Daniel Jones level. I think he's a little better than Daniel Jones, but that's the level he's on.
He got a
Okay.
stupid contract.
And if it, but Baker Mayfield's greatest value would be to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the team he's on now. So what'll happen? Yeah, if he has a great year, maybe the Buccaneers will decide, okay, let's say the Buccaneers go to the Super Bowl. They might just say, okay, we're going to pay Baker as a top quarterback the next 3-4 years. But Baker wants that type of money now, close to it now. See, if you have to pay him a little more, you wind up paying him a little more.
Well,
But the way it sounds, it's not going to be a lot more than he wants now. He feels disrespected.
they're not going to have a quarterback is what's going to happen, though.
I mean,
any
keep in
quarterback.
mind, Baker Mayfield, the Browns moved on from him, not so much because it was Baker. They had a chance to get Deshaun Watson, who was an elite quarterback at the time.
And he was hurt.
Understood. He didn't win the starting job or lost it when he was a Carolina Panther. There's a history. The Buccaneers revived his career, if anything. We'll see what happens. But look, if Baker was a free agent now, would you give him that big money?
I'm not saying I would. But
No, they're not. They're not. They're waiting and seeing. Produce for the Buccaneers. Do better than you did last year. That's what they're saying.
So wait and see could cost them a lot more money, though.
Well, it could cost them a lot more money. And you want to know something? If a team is foolish enough to pay Baker Mayfield like he's the 6th highest quarterback in the NFL if he comes off a big year, good riddance to it because it's going to bite them later on. Baker Mayfield's erratic. At times, he's very, very good. I get that. At times, not so much so.
Well, you know what happens? These teams also think I can fall back on the franchise tag, and they can't do that because that'll cost them $50 million next year, probably for a quarterback. That's going to be the franchise number.
I don't know. Can they do that with Baker Mayfield next year?
They can. They can franchise him if they want.
Are you certain about that?
I'm 100% certain. Yes.
Okay, so let them franchise him. What's he going to do about it? Retire?
Well, again, you're going to pay him $50 million with the franchise tag.
Okay, but for 1 year.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
It's business. Hey, listen, it's business. You made a good point before when we were talking baseball. The players want the owners to take all the risks.
They do. They do.
Oh, geez, I think we ran over time here.
We're over. That's okay. We got to get to a little boxing news. So give us a little boxing news.
Yeah, because...
Give us a little boxing news before we go.
Yeah, okay, because I'm on my schedule here. Yeah, Keyshawn Davis, Devin Haney going to purse bids. Top Rank won the purse bids. They promote Keyshawn Davis. Davis supposedly is complaining. He wants a little more money, even though it's the biggest payday of his career. Davis, with some of his shenanigans outside of the ring, is lucky the legal system is allowing him, to not have any repercussions, but that's a story for Glove Fist Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Everything's about money. Everything's about money. Except for you and I. We're not getting paid anything arguing about people making all this money. Anyway, good show today, Jack. I love the spirited debate that we have.
Okay, we went a little over time, so look forward to seeing you this weekend on Monday show.
All right, Jack. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.